Russia continues to plunge into war with all its sick psyche. And it's not about the cringe-like presentation of diplomas to singing camouflages at the Golden Gramophone ceremony. This is just a touch to the everyday cavernousness of the population. The immersion itself occurs every minute, against the backdrop of the grinding sound of tightening nuts. There is no money, and even Nabiullina's chest is not able to cover the holes in the budget. Kovalchuk rushed to Sochi in order to win back his creatures in the future government, which the rat will change after the march dances on the stumps. On Friday, the rat returned to Moscow to meet with Sechin, who will talk about the deplorable state of the cave oil industry, where revenue in January to September 2023 fell by 41%. Everything is bad. The share of the dollar in export revenues has shrunk by half, and sales of foreign currency on the stock exchange have collapsed by 58%. But there are also breakthroughs. The LGBT movement is recognized as extremist and is henceforth prohibited. Abortion is also prohibited. Putin at the People's Council ordered the birth of 8 children. And behind this statement loomed the shadow of a complete abolition of pensions in the cave. After all, why did they give birth to so many children in Russia? So that at least one of them survives, and then supports their elderly parents. It seems that those epic uterine times are returning, with which they were recently frightened, and now here they are, outside the window. The series, The Boy's Word, directed by the servile Fyodor Bondarchuk, naturally fell into the soul of wild furry people, and they began to cosplay the behavior of the characters, setting the tone for future urban battles. AUE is elevated to a qualitatively different level, a boyfront level, where the front line runs along every street, and a clash promises a lot of blood and corpses. The war of all against all is creeping across the entire area of the cave with all its inevitability. And this won't be a showdown between some Afghans who returned at the behest of a rejuvenated motherland. This will be an all-out front of wild scumbags dehumanized and knowing no mercy. Europe hastily closes down, feeling the growing danger from wild swamps. Finnish authorities announced the closure of the land border with Russia from November 30 to December 13. According to the Finnish authorities, this step was taken due to the influx of refugees from Russia. The Finnish national hockey team will not take part in the World Cup if the Russian team is allowed to participate in the tournament. Estonian authorities have warned their citizens against any travel to Russia, saying that Tallinn may temporarily close the border due to the influx of migrants. If Estonia temporarily closes its border, those who will be in Russia at this time will not be able to return, officials warn. And all this gloomy news falls like organic strokes onto the information canvas. The Israeli army has officially announced the resumption of hostilities in the Gaza Strip. In a short statement on social media, the IDF accused Hamas of violating the terms of the operational pause in the fighting and shelling Israeli territory, after which Israeli Air Force planes again began striking Hamas in Gaza. This war, as part of a scenario of global chaos, with a clash of religions and explosions of mental bombs, has been gestating for a long time in the skulls of KGB demiurges, obsessed with the idea of vengeance for the lost USSR. And for the mistake of the now-dead Kissinger, who believed that Russia was, after all, part of Europe, the same Europe is paying now. But this is a small thing compared to the amount of bills that Ukraine receives every day. Zelensky announced the construction of defense structures from Donbass to western Ukraine. This is probably the right strategy in the paradigm of a protracted war of attrition. However, a new reality is already visible on the horizon. According to VTSIOM, 78.5% of Russians trust Putin, and 75% approve of his work. The rapidly decrepit empire pupates and withdraws into itself, from time to time concentrating its forces to launch raids on its neighbors. Thus, Lavrov, who was finally allowed into the OSCE meeting in Skopje without a muzzle, threatened to attack Moldova with a cave attack. On the other hand, inside the cave itself a civil war front is about to open, when criminal savages begin the cheerful extermination of their own kind. Somewhere by March, the stump will give birth to a rat, and then the ruble will collapse, and the furry soul will rush to heaven at double speed. That's where she goes.